My name is Sam Bell from sambellmarketing.com and specialize in running a digital marketing agency that specializes in high ticket automated webinars. And I'm definitely happy to get into more detail exactly what that is and how it works and everything.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Sam Bell the Third. You know, that sounds like old money. And when you look at him, you're going to say, wait, hold on. Is that R&B singer? He just looked like that. And some of you might recognize him because he does have a YouTube channel. He hasn't given it much love. I think the last thing he posted was 6 years ago. But guess what? He still looks the same because you know this good black don't crack if you don't smoke it. So Sam Bell, man, give us the game. What's going on? How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Good. Excited to be here, man.
Man, I thank you for coming on. And, you know, you have the game on this online marketing. And I always tell people I love to talk to people who do similar things because you definitely specialize in an arena that we don't. We find great partners like yourself. But tell the people, how did you get into this, 14 years ago, and, what you do and how you can help their businesses today?
Sure. So it was actually by accident that I got into this space. So, I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. But what happened was I actually started out in real estate investing. So I was actively buying and selling houses in Atlanta. Started probably around 2005. It was when I really went like all in. So I was buying, selling houses in Atlanta. Fast forward, like 2007, things started to slow down a little bit. And, I'm like, I need to find a way to market and sell my properties outside of my local market. Because a lot of people that was buying houses from me locally weren't buying anymore. So I'm like, what can I do to bring investors from outside my local market? At the time, I had already been developing skills, technical skills in terms of like doing search engine optimizations, blogs, and then also social media was like brand new. YouTube had just came out. Facebook was only a few years old. What I started doing was actually uploading my properties onto my YouTube channel and then optimizing those videos so they would rank high in the search engines. And then I would start attracting leads that way from outside the marketplace. And fast forward, probably about a year or so later, I actually shared this information on a stage at a real estate investing seminar. And it was a gentleman that was there. At the time, they owned was probably one of the largest social networks for real estate investors called realestateinvestor.com. So we wound up joint venturing and I wound up creating a product because he's like, yo, man, that was a great presentation. Like, that's dope. Like, we could sell that. I'm like, we can sell. He's like, yeah. Like, man, we should create a product. I'm like, all right, bet. So we created the product. I created all the content. They went out there and sold it. And that's how I broke into the information marketing game, using digital marketing within the real estate niche. And then really what that did is that opened me up to developing relationships in the real estate information marketing space, because there's a lot of people in the real estate education space that, teach, different type of, techniques, investing techniques, whatever. And fast forward, I wound up developing a REO research platform. I started doing some coaching, and I actually started running ads for my own stuff internally on the Google Display Network, right? So this was before there were Facebook ads. It was just really Google was like the number one game in town. And I developed a reputation in the industry, in the information marketing industry, as someone that was savvy when it came to paid ads and search engine optimization. So what wound up happening around 2009, there was a big Google slap. And essentially what happened is Google started banning advertisers from their ad platform because they were either non-compliant or whatever the case may be. So I actually started off doing some consulting work. So I actually had a few people approach me to help them to either get their account reinstated and to help them be able to run compliantly. So I started doing that for a few people, and I really decided, like, man, like this is cool. Like I like this because I always love to be able to create create an ad from scratch and basically test it and run that ad and have people who've never seen, never heard of you before come into a sales process and start buying. And that's really when I kind of caught the bug, and I transitioned from just doing consulting work to actually starting an agency, and that's how I got into this world of digital marketing, right? So it's just kind of been like a evolution. Um, and then fast forward, other platforms opened up. Facebook came online, started doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. We still do stuff on Google, obviously, as well as YouTube. And because I started off helping other information marketers in the real estate space, we've expanded that to where now we work primarily with coaches, consultants, and digital product creators. So anyone who sells a digital product online between $1,000 and $3,000, or anyone that does high-end consulting or coaching, where they sell coaching packages anywhere between maybe $5,000 to $30,000. What we do is we actually build the online assets, and we build a sales funnel, right? And specifically an automated webinar sales funnel. So that way we can pretty much feed the pipeline in with leads 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to either produce direct sales or to produce leads that generally go to a sales floor or sales team, where people are then qualified and offer different products and services, based on the different niches. And we've done this, across multiple niches, real estate, coaching, invention space, app development, like, all types of different stuff, man. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
Awesome stuff. And while you guys go to sambellmarketing.com and check it out, talk about your, ideal client, because it seemed, especially with COVID, and I don't want to blame the PPP loan, but let me just say, everybody started to have a business. I thought it before, but then everybody, if you had one business, you had five, because they were going to, grab some stuff that's going to end some people in prison, because they just said, hey, I need this money, right? Thinking it's free. What's your ideal client like? Because people are coming to you. Should they already have some of the funnel stuff together, or do you like to build it straight from scratch? And also, in what tier should they be in as far as money wise? Because I'm sure people come to you all the time. Hey man, I got $200. What can I get? And personally, I don't got a $200 package. I don't open up my computer for less than $6. So, and that's just opening it. So give us your stake on that.
So generally our ideal client is someone that has a tested and validated offer. Meaning that they actually have a product that they've already been selling. Either they've been selling it through joint ventures, or they may be running ads themselves. They're at least doing anywhere between $25,000 to $50,000 a month in revenue already, and they want to scale up to six figures, multiple six figures per month. So that's kind of like the ideal place, right? They have an offer, they know it works. They've successfully sold that offer, and now they want to add fuel to the fire and begin to really scale up.
Okay. Because if they don't have all of that, should they go to someone else, or do you have even maybe a package and say, hey, we could do it all for you, but it's going to cost you. So let's do this. If they are already making money, what could that, look like? Is it 5, 10, 20,000 a month? And if they don't have anything, oh man, y'all gonna have to start at 20. I'm gonna say it for Sam himself. Y'all gonna have to start at 20.
There's a progression, especially in this space. I think when people first learn about this space, they're really excited in terms of like the possibilities, and it is possible for anyone to grow and to scale a business, but there is a learning curve, and there's certain things that people need to understand. At the end of the day, what we do is marketing. If you have a great product or service, we're going to put it out there. We're going to get it the exposure that it needs. We're going to put it in front of the right people. But you have to make sure that you actually have a good offer around that product or service. And let me make the distinction between the two, because a lot of times, like, I have this great product, or I have this great service. And even though they may be like top tier, but how that product or how that service is packaged and positioned is like that's the offer, right? So how do we actually convey the value proposition of what it is that I'm selling to my ideal prospects that that will motivate them to want to exchange and give me money for this product or service, right? So you have to make sure that the offer is packaged and presented properly in order to convert someone from a cold prospect who never seen you or heard of you before to a paying customer who was happy to pay you, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and that in of itself is a process, right? So, just having the product or service, that's the start, but then you have to package and present that. And there are instances where we do consulting work and we'll help people through that. But there's a ton of courses and other trainings out there that kind of help people along that journey. And then once they're ready to actually really start taking it to the next level and growing it and scaling it, that's really where we step in and we can have the most impact and add the most value for people.
So you guys got to get your stuff together before you hit sambellmarketing.com, because when you come into his arena, it's the big leagues. Now, you've been able to pivot, and you talked about you got into real estate, that slowed up, and you got into this. How's the motivation work? Because sometimes people will say, you know what, all I like doing is this one or two things, but I do this other stuff because it makes me money. But they're not always the happiest people. So how have you been able to find joy in what you do and pivot? And is it just about having a successful business? Is that how you kind of keep pushing? Because you're like, I ain't got to clock in.
Yeah, it's a combination of a few different things. One thing that I will say about this space is that it's always evolving, so it doesn't get boring. Things are constantly in a state of change, and it moves very, very, very fast. I mean, the stuff that we're doing, from in the digital marketing space, we're at least 3 to 5 years ahead of, big companies, corporations in terms of like, what we do, how we actually run ads, how we run campaigns. So, from that perspective, you never get bored. The other flip side to that, in terms of like our, how I really view, what we do, we're really a conduit. We're the conduit that connects people who have a need with people who have the ability to fulfill it, right? So, I mean, we literally have hundreds, if not probably millions of people see our ads from all of our different clients, in various niches, right? So one client may be helping people learn how to buy their first investment property. Another client may be teaching someone, how to bring their idea to fruition and getting their idea patented and getting it developed. We might have someone who helps someone to actually grow and scale their coaching business, right? So we are the facilitators to actually bring those two individuals together. So, we indirectly are impacting a lot of people's lives and they don't even know it. So that's really how I look at what we do. And then from the business standpoint, when I first started, it was kind of like a lifestyle business, but over time I took it more serious, started building a team, to really support me so that I can grow and scale it. And we're at a really decent place now, but there's a level beyond that. So you ask, like, do I actually offer training? In the past I have, but I just did that to focus, stop doing that just to focus on the agency and servicing the clients. But there are a lot of people who do come to us that aren't necessarily in the position to where they can hire us right away. So it's like, well, how can we help those people? How can we serve those people? So we do have a plan to roll out some additional education and training, so that way we can teach people, like, look, we're not going to do it for you, but let me actually walk you through the process and show you the steps based on what we've developed over time, so you can at least do it for yourself or have someone on your team do it. And then once you get to a certain point and you want to outsource it, or you want to hire or bring in an agency, now you'll be in a position to do so. So that's kind of the next iteration of what we're going to be doing.
Okay. And I ask all my guests, with the success that you're having, what is a community give back that you are doing or that you want to do in the future? So you were kind of going down that lane anyway. Let me just try to lead it before you spill the beans on anything. But yeah, give us the game on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, so from that perspective, and I really have to credit my wife with this. Like my wife uh, has been, because she's also an entrepreneur too, and we have separate businesses, but we all work together. But she's really been a proponent of donating back to her community, to the church, to different schools and stuff like that. Whether it be like book bags or school supplies. So I've actually been able to contribute back to the community. She's really inspired me to do that. And even back home, I'm just giving the organizations, because I'm from New Jersey originally. Recently I'm giving back to like my church where I actually grew up at, and a lot of the good that they do in the community, especially right now, man, with a lot of people out of work. Things were difficult, for a lot of people. We've been very blessed and fortunate. We're online, so we were positioned perfectly for all of this stuff. But there's a lot of people that were not. So that's something that I consistently try to do, man. And then also just to share and support and provide information to people, let them know what's possible, that's out here. Like, I mean, for me, the internet is like the equalizer. It's the big equalizer, because you can be anybody and do anything online. You just got to know, what to do. Right? You just got to have the knowledge and the skill set. So being able to educate and inspire people, and then transfer that knowledge to them, they can take it and change their whole lives.
And you guys see how he credits his wife. But if you remember 4 months ago, Sandy Bell, you guys type in diversified game wherever you're listening or watching, and it will pop up. And she gave that game on the mobile home game. And so I'm really showing you guys how couples work together so you can get the game from folks who are married and not men who are online every night telling you about high value men while they sitting there lonely. And I know some of these people, so I'm just trying to give you the game. So I don't say names because I'm not the FBI, but but you guys understand if I said a name, what FBI and CIA really mean. So you guys read between the lines, but you're hearing it from married men how they work with their wives. How talking about your wife, how you just gave a great compliment, but I just want to go deeper because some men will say, man, I don't want to get married. She'll try to take half. I say, well, marry a woman who makes more or the same, or you know what I mean? Ding, duh. But how impactful has not just your wife, but even your kids been to in your business?
Yeah, I mean, so my wife and I, we have a little friendly competition, because she'll come like, look, babe, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing this month. This is how much I'm pushing. I'm like, all right, man, I got to catch up. So it's like it's always this thing where we're pushing each other to be better and do better. So from that standpoint, it's been very inspirational. And then she also provides a lot of insights, and just ideas and different things that I can learn from. As it relates to the children, for me, it's more so building something so that way, there's a legacy, to pass on, right? There's it's so much more than just like the business. Is like, okay, when our kids come of age, they'll actually have assets. They're not going to start from ground zero. They're going to start with millions of dollars in assets, like out of the gate. So it's just really our responsibility to teach them how to properly manage, preserve, and grow those things. So it's really understanding that we're not just doing it to have a good lifestyle and live for us, but we got three young kings that in the next 20 years are going to become men, and they're going to have an opportunity, excuse me, to start with a very solid foundation and base. We as Black people, it's like we always have to hit the reset button every generation, and we're trying to eradicate that, especially in our family, to where now you're actually starting with something, because it puts you in a much different position when you get in the game, with $25 million in assets that you can just start running with. A lot of people, even thinking about Trump, when he got into the game, it's like, well, he pulled himself up by the bootstraps, but his dad was worth like, $200 million. Gave him $1 million, out of the gate. So it's like when you actually have resources, it just changes everything.
Yeah, you guys know, make a list of all these entrepreneurs because I just put Sam on my list. He said 3 Black kings. And if you have something and you want your daughters, which I got daughters, when the time comes, we need to know who to pull from. This is how other communities say, wait, the Duke of who? And so now you got the bells on there. And talking about Trump, I mean, he's just, down the street around the corner from us. Sam and I are neighbors, y'all, just so you know. And what are your goals? Do you want the membership at Mar-a-Lago, the $200,000 membership, and say, oh, I made it? Or where do you feel where you're like, I'll be satisfied if I get to here?
I think that's an illusion. I don't ever think that you can reach a point of like I've made it, because you never actually made it, because anytime you make it, there's a level beyond it. If I think about 20 years ago where I was and where I said I wanted to be, I've already made it from what my goals and aspirations were from that point. But where I am now, it's like I barely scratched the surface. So I don't believe you ever really make it. I think you have to be comfortable with where you are, but also still have the drive to push forward and beyond, because I think, God has given us all the capacity to create at any level we choose. Now, how far we push it and how far we take it and the amount of impact we make on people, that's really up to us. So I don't think I don't think it's a ever made it. If I had to say a number, for me, it would be at least 100 million. Then I would say, okay, I've made it. Like, we got 100 M's in assets, and then and even when you get there, it's like, hey, what's the next step? What's the next level, right? So there's always something beyond that.
Man, I love how you put that and put that talked about God, because I like talking about the scripture, because as a reformed heathen, that if you push the right button, you never know if you'll go back, right? Because protection is everything. But the there is no made it in my mind either. I know I want to be able to live wherever I want to live and be comfortable and do whatever I feel is. So if I'm able to do that, I'm quite happy, whether I'm in a 1 bedroom, well, with the kids, not a 1 bedroom, but
Yeah,
you get it,
yeah,
because
yeah,
kids, I got some grown things I need to do. So
yeah.
we can't have no 1 bedroom. Now, with with your YouTube, I just got to tease you before I let you go. Is the you what happened to the YouTube? Because it seemed like you were enjoying yourself, and we need more positivity because we have so much mess on YouTube.
Yeah. I just wasn't consistent. I wasn't consistent in that I was focused more on the agency than creating content, you know, and that has been my priority. Is just really focusing on the agency, um, and working with clients. So I mean, I do a lot of marketing, So like if you go to my website, then you're going to see my ads. I'm going to stalk you around the internet,
Mhm.
So I just found that form of marketing to just be more appealing, because I can turn it on, turn it off when I want to, at any given time. And if I want to scale it up, I just spend money. Now, I am also an avid believer in that you should do organic. And it's funny because I encourage my clients to do it. Like, look, it's good to do organic. You don't want to be 100% dependent on that, because you cannot scale and control business scale when you're just depending upon organic. And the best combination is to do organic, build the audience, but then you also want to do paid traffic as well. You want to do a combination of both. But there was a time when I was just like putting a lot of stuff out there, and just kind of let it fall to the wayside. Who knows? I might switch that back up. But for now, my focus, like I said, has just been running ads and running the agency itself.
Okay, I get it. I get it. So when they come back, y'all, maybe it'll be for like a family show, and him and his wife get together and they talk about their business. And it's difficult sometimes to work with your spouse. So, kudos to you, because it's just, man, we working together, we doing life together. But I think it's worth it, especially when this thing is all said and done. You can look back on those memories. Give the people the last great book you read, and what do you do outside of work? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, we get caught up in just work, work, work. But man, learn how to play the guitar or something. So great book and an activity you do outside of work.
Yeah, so great books, man. I read a lot of books. I actually have to go to my list here and say what's probably one of the last great ones that I read. And by the way, I'm a huge Audible fan because it allows me to consume a ton of books very rapidly. I'm
Definitely.
really
Something
say that
tells
again.
me something tells me you might be like the rest of us and have a possible diagnosis of ADHD, where we just, we can do two things at once, sometimes three. Well, so you got to multitask.
Yeah, so I'm an avid believer in personal development and growth. So actually, one of the most recent personal development books that I listened to that was actually really really good, and I got a lot of good stuff out of it. It was called The Ultimate Jim Rohn Library. And if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, Jim Rohn is probably one of the godfathers of personal development. He was before Tony Robbins. I mean, he's back in the day with like Zig Ziglar and like, a lot of these personal development guys, including Napoleon Hill as well. But it was a really, really good book from a personal development and growth standpoint. Um, Another book that was also really good was Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by 50 Cent. A lot of people sleep on 50, but his business acumen and his grind is really, really, really strong. And so I have a lot of respect for 50 when it comes to that. So that was another really good book. From a business standpoint, probably one of the best books I've recently read is called Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan. One of the things as entrepreneurs that we a lot of times get stuck on is we're always trying to figure out how do we do something. How do I do this? How do I do that? And the reality is that's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking is who. Who can I find that can do this? Who is a specialist that can help me achieve these things? And it really does a good breakdown from that standpoint. So those are a few books. I mean, I've read a ton more. Um, a ton more since then, but those are ones that really stand out. If I had to say some other ones, I mean, definitely Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is that's like always a great one. And there was actually one too that I recently read too. The Greatest Salesman in the World. This is Audible. That was a really good book as well. Very biblical base by Mark Bramhill.
And what's that activity that you do to get away from work?
You know, Besides work, just spending time with my family. I mean, my kids are very active, so like every weekend, the wife and I, like, we pretty much cook out like every weekend, and like have all the kids come over, all their cousins, and we just hang out, man, and play, water guns, all that stuff. Other than that, dating my wife, my wife and I, man, we make sure that we go out together, we spend time together. So we do a lot of that, and for me, just growing. Like in my spare time, if I'm not working, I'm learning. Like I believe in constantly growing and learning different skills or sharpening the skills that I already have. So like I'm passionate about what I do in the digital marketing space, and then understanding and learning about different platforms. Becoming a better copywriter, becoming a better business person. So I do go to a lot of seminars. Well, obviously, COVID kind of shut that down, but I still do a lot of virtual seminars. And as things open back up, I will be going to a lot of seminars. So I really believe in growth and personal development, and then working out, taking care of yourself. Health as well. So that's definitely something that I enjoy doing as well. But I'm not like a big, sports guy or anything like that. Between, work, family, that's pretty much all my time.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys, you can't see it, but if Sam stood up, you would see he's working out somewhere. It's kind of like me. You can kind of see my guns from afar, but if he stood up, you would see that he's not just sitting lounging all day. So he doesn't want to give you that key secret. But I appreciate you, brother, for coming on and giving the game. And please, you guys like, share, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this. Motivate somebody, man. Inspire them.